Human rights are principles that are universal and inherent, belonging to every individual, regardless of background, nationality, or circumstances. These rights are essential for dignity, freedom, and well-being, and are protected by international laws and agreements such as the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The declaration was adopted by the United Nations in 1948, outlining 30 articles that cover a wide range of human rights. As we celebrate the International Day for Human Rights, we will look at infringements and penalties. My guest, Job Napoleon Agbo, a human rights activist and convener, pioneers of National Disability Civil Movement in Nigeria, will speak to us. Mr. Agbo, thank you so much for joining us on Insights.
Yeah, good morning, Nigerians, and thank you for this opportunity to add some issues.
Thank you so much. Now let's start. How are human rights issues and challenges handled?
Actually, when you talk about issues of human rights, you are looking at constitutional issues. And, constitutional issues can either be the evaluation of those issues or those constitutional amendments. So in Nigeria, our country, there are grossly a lot of human rights violations that had to affect persons with disability. And we can look at it from two perspectives. We will look at it from the angle of the Constitution. The Constitution of the country is the grand norm of that country. And as such, it regulates the activities of the persons that live in that country. Incidentally, in our country, Nigeria, our 1999 Constitutional Amendment has nothing to do with persons with disability. So we are evaluated in that aspect. It's an abuse of human rights. Then not only that alone, if you look at it also, there are a lot of other laws, internal laws, like the National Disability Act, like the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability, a Sustainable Development Goal. Like, there are so many of laws that have to bother with disability in terms of protecting their rights and enforcing them. We are grossly violating all these laws. And that's why, if you look at us critically, persons with disability in Nigeria, we are just a rolling stone that gather no much. We are crying, but no help. We are being, looked upon as objects of pity, instead of being objects, being subjects, following the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability, Article 4.3. So you can now begin to see now that these are all the issues that concerns us, persons with disability, as regards evaluating our rights in Nigeria.
Okay. Now let's talk about the role of the international organizations in promoting human rights. Have they been able to achieve their objectives when we talk about human rights?
Well, if I may get it right, you now begin to look at issues that concerns us. If we thoroughly understand the differences, then we'll be able to begin to look at in which area have we been able to evaluate the right of persons with disability.
Okay.
Now the concept disability is encompassing. We have the invisible disability, we have the visible disability. And then in between that, we have valuations of the right of women, which we are still ongoing till 16 of this, I think that 16 or thereabout, we'll talk about International Day for Valuation of Human Rights, women, violence against women, sorry. So you now begin to see now that when you talk about invisible disability, we're looking at those of them who have, issues that have to do with post-traumatic stress disorder. It's a mental issue. And that is what they constitute the underlooked population in this country, which the government of Nigeria have not been able to critically want to define it and understand it. They also constitute our veterans, military veterans, who have fought to defend the territorial integrity of this country. This set of people have issues that have to do with disability, and some of them end up retiring back to our society. You look at, the at-risk children. You look at the street beggars. They are all victims of disability. They have issues that have to do with psychological disability. It's invisible in nature, and their rights aren't protected in this country. Then come to the issue that have to do with physical disability that have to bother with us people who are physically challenged. You can look at me, I'm on a wheelchair. You know I'm a disabled person. Then you look at our visually impaired, those who are deaf and dumb and all that. You now begin to see that they have laws that protects them. But in this country, these laws aren't respected and enforced. And it's
not
a very
enforced.
serious problem that the government needs to immediately become aware. I'm happy for this opportunity to air some of these issues. Now let's go back to the Nigerian Constitution. Article or Section 12 of the Nigerian Constitution has it that before any international treaty or convention become domesticated or fully implemented or fully enforced in Nigeria, it must be presented through the House of Assembly. I mean the Senate and the House of Rep, so that they can domesticate it. But do you know that since Nigeria signed and ratified the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability, that very particular article or section in the Constitution is still an asbestos, because they have not fully implemented the United Nations Convention on Rights of Persons with Disability that is stemmed the 21st Human Rights Treaty for Persons with Disability. It's still a problem. Recently, I understand the governors formed a forum and took the federal government to court, telling them that they should abolish the EFCC and ICPC and all that, and on grounds that they came on board as a result of United Nations Convention of Corruption. I mean, United Nations corruption, what have you. And you now begin to see the learned judge there said that view of the fact that Nigeria have already signed and rectified that very particular law at the United Nations level, that law automatically become enforceable. Then let's go to the issue that had to bother with our own Nigerian National Disability Act. Do you know that act is defective? They hurriedly put that act together without even looking at extant laws at the international level, what is obtainable. And as long as that law is defective, it is unconstitutional. And because it's unconstitutional, that's why you can see things go the way they go in the Disability Committee in Nigeria, and nobody cares.
Mr. Agbo, explain to us, as a human rights advocate, activist rather, can you explain to us the relationship between human rights and social justice issues? Let's get the explanation from there.
Okay, when you talk about human rights violations, it has to do with completely relegating or negating and not refusing to enforce the right that has to do with persons with disability. And if you look at it, in Nigeria, we have a lot of bodies, we have a lot of parastatal agencies that have been set to actually promote these laws, like the National Human Rights Commission and so many others. Even the EFCC, they have an aspect that has to bother with persons with disability. We have been neglected and looked upon like objects of sympathy, of using a charity model approach to us. Meanwhile, we are human beings.
Of course.
We should not be looked upon that way, but we should be looked upon like people that have inalienable rights that must be enforced and obeyed.
Okay. Generally now, how can we promote and protect human rights in our community?
Okay, very easy. You see, in order to enforce them, or to make them more useful, there are a lot of issues that must be addressed. First of all, let's understand the problem. Actually, there are valuations. We exist. We're not object of sympathy. During the election, we go out and vote. We are full citizens of this country. But we are being kept aside. Why? Because some of our laws are not being obeyed and respected. So, one, there should be an immediate amendment of the 1999 Constitution, and that Constitution does not cover persons with disability. Then two, they should quickly amend the National Disability Act of Nigeria for persons with disability, the one Act number 2018 that was enforced. That act, as I rightly pointed out, is defective and unconstitutional, so they should be able to immediately seek a way to amend it. While amending it, they should be able to think of making sure that they align it with international treaties. Okay, for instance, in Nigeria, the first disability law was Plateau State. And we knew how that law came about. The law came about via looking at American with Disability Act of 1990. But when it came to the issue of the National Disability Act that encompasses the whole nation, you discover that they relegated the United Nations Convention of Rights of Persons with Disability, even also the American with Disability Act. And issues that bother with social living and also retaliation, persecution, repression, and outright abuse of persons with disability have not been addressed in our National Disability Act. And if you look at the act critically, I keep saying it is defective. They need to make sure that they amend it with a matter of urgency. If we do this, apparently our human issues that have to do with our rights for persons with disability in Nigeria will be adequately protected.
Protected. Okay, let's link this conversation to the family units. At what point can you say your rights are infringed within the family setting?
Well, if I may get it right, you discover that there are a lot of issues that need to be addressed. And if these issues are properly addressed, we will be able to be on the right track in making sure that our rights are being enforced. And so, as a matter of urgency, they should be able to start thinking of amending these laws, amending the Constitution of Nigeria to reflect contemporary issues and follow United Nations Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disability and other international treaties. They should all look at amending our own Disability Act of 2018 in Nigeria. If we do these things, I'm sure that issues that border human rights will be adequately, be on the right track towards being enforced, because you cannot enforce anything that doesn't exist.
That's true, actually. But really, if we look at human rights cases, do you think people truly get justice when their rights are infringed?
There's a lot that ought to be done, a lot. And this a lot hard to bother with quick amendments. And also, we persons with disability, we should rise up to our rights. We should be aware there should be national creation of awareness, so that persons with disability also come out and speak out and see a need for their right to be enforced. First of all, let there be national awareness. And once that is done, you go a long way to make sure that it solves some of our problems to some extent. And thereby taking to the right authority, like the Senate, and also the executive arm of the government, even the judiciary. They should be able to look at issues that border on disability. These are national issues and international issues too, and have international rights. So if this is done, I think we'll go a long way to help us to get real rights.
Okay. Mr. Job Napoleon Agbo, I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for joining us on Insight this week. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A quick wrap-up for this week would be, as Nigeria stands at the crossroads of its future, the National Youth Conference presents a critical opportunity for young people to reclaim their agency and demand a seat at the table. But this moment demands more than just rhetoric. It requires collective action. To the young people of Nigeria, we urge you, do not let this moment pass you by. Seize the opportunity to make your voices heard, to challenge the status quo, and to demand a better future for yourself and your communities. To the government and policymakers, we call on you, listen to the voices of young people and take concrete actions to address the pressing issues that affect their lives. Do not let this conference be a mere talking shop. Use it as a catalyst for meaningful change. Together, we can harness the energy and idealism of Nigeria's youth to build a brighter, a more just future for all. Let us rise to this moment and create a Nigeria that truly belongs to its young people. And that's it for this week. Do join us same time next week for more on Insight. My name is Nnamdi Odipo.
And I'm Elizabeth Omori. Be that change you want to see. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.